Hi everyone, I'm back with another Bible story, and this is the parable of the lost son. One day, Jesus was among a crowd, sharing the word of the Lord, when he decided to share a parable with them. The parable of the lost son and his loving father goes on to say about a story where a prodigal son asked for his shares from his dad, went away with it to a distant country and used all of it, and finally decided to come back to his dad back again when he was out of all the money. Let's go look at this Bible
Once there
story
lived a
and
family,
see what we can learn
a father and his two sons. They lived together in a nice house and were helped by the couple of servants they had. The two sons both helped their father look after the house and farm the land that they owned. Well, over time, the younger son began to feel frustrated with his work on the farm. He longed to be rich and live the extravagant life of his dreams. He knew that his father had been saving up money to leave behind for him and his brother, and he decided to go and ask for his portion of the money early. So, the youngest son went up to his dad and said, "Father, give me my share of the estate." Well, his dad had no choice but to divide the property between them and gave the youngest son his share. Not long after that, the youngest son got together all he had, set off for a distant country, and there squandered his wealth in wild living. He spent money on fancy food, expensive drinks, big parties, and many other things that would not please God. He did not pay attention to how much anything cost or how much money he had left. Well, it was not long before the prodigal son realized that pretty soon all the money his father had given him was about to be gone. And when the prodigal son spent all his money, he became desperate. Quickly, the memory of the fine foods he had eaten were replaced by hunger. And there were no more parties for him to distract himself. And after he had spent everything, there was a severe famine in that whole country, and he began to be in need. So he went along in search of some work to do. Eventually, he came across a pig farmer who would allow him to work for him. He longed to fill his stomach with the pods that the pigs were eating, but no one gave him anything. The son began to think of the servants back at his father's house, and how they were always treated with respect and had enough of food to eat. And he instantly regretted abandoning his father's household. So, without any choice, he decided to go back to his father and say to him, "Father, I have sinned against you and against heaven. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired men." And so, the prodigal son made his way back to his father's household. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him. He ran to his son, threw his arms around him, and kissed him. The son said to him, "Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. If you are willing to forgive me, I wish to work as a servant for you and make it up to you." But the father was filled with forgiveness and compassion for his son, and ordered his hired men to go bring the best robe and put it on him, put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet, bring the fattened calf and kill it, and throw a party for his son who was once lost and is now found. So they began to celebrate. Meanwhile, the older brother was working in the fields, and when he neared his house, he heard music and dancing. So he hurried to one of the hired men and asked what was going on. They replied as, "Your younger brother has returned, so your father had killed the finest calf because he has him back safe and sound." The older brother became angry and refused to go in. So his father went out and called him to join with them to rejoice the return of his brother. But he replied as, "Father, all these years I've served you and I've never disobeyed any of your orders. Yet you never gave me even the young goat to celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours, who has squandered your property with prostitutes, comes home, you killed the fattened calf for him." "My son," the father said, "you're always with me, and everything I have is yours. But we have to celebrate and be glad, because this brother of yours was dead, and is alive again. He was lost, and now is found."
And that was the parable of the lost son. We saw how the prodigal son went away with his father's money and used all of it until he was all out of money. And at last, his only hope was to come back to his dad. We then saw how the father gratefully accepted his son back and threw the biggest feast. But the older son was mad and angry and questioned his dad on why he threw the biggest feast to the son that just disobeyed him and ran away. But this father had compassion and forgiveness for both of his sons and forgave and accepted his younger son. And likewise, no matter what we do, if we truly repent and come back to God, He will always forgive and accept us. And just like we should also forgive one another. And that's it for this week's Bible story. And always remember that God will show us love and acceptance when we come back to Him, just like the Father did to His Son.